All right, I think we're live.
Awesome.
We, we're still getting used to this.
Hi, my community, if you're there.
Happy almost Friday. We think we're live. We hope so. All right, so why are we here today, Micah?
We're here today to have a chat
Okay.
in person.
We're actually together, which we don't live that far apart, but actually being together in person is quite the rarity. So we thought we'd hop on while we were here and in the same room and say hello and share some thoughts that were on our mind today.
Yep. And we are always wanting to kind of chat about the things that are coming up in our coaching. And I think that we have a good topic today that might resonate with some of you out there.
Yes. So who has heard of something called the sunk cost fallacy? Everyone? Anyone? I'm actually going to read the definition and then we're going to just chat a little bit about it and, why we wanted to bring it up today. So the sunk cost fallacy is a phenomenon whereby a person is reluctant to abandon a strategy or course of action because they have invested heavily in it, even when it is clear the abandonment would be more beneficial.
Wow. So how does this show up in careers is the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a lot of folks in our community that have stayed in jobs, stayed in industries, stayed at companies, or stayed in roles that really made them miserable or felt like not a good fit anymore.
Yes. Yeah, I also even see it with those recent college grads. So, people who just spent the last 4 years in a major or studying something. And even though they didn't love it, even though maybe they thought like, ugh, I can barely get through these classes, there's this feeling that because I spent the last 4 years studying this, maybe getting internships in this area, that now I have to go and get the job because I've already invested 4 years and all this time in this particular field of study.
Yeah, and we see that a lot. And we see it also when they're not recent college grads, but maybe they've been in that job then for 5 years and feeling those same feelings they had when they were taking the coursework.
Yes.
Those wasted 5 years are what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and I think it's, they talked about this as being a flawed decision-making framework, right? So it's this idea that we're often making decisions about our future from what we've done in the past. And a lot of our decision making and the choices that we're making are subconscious. We're not actually aware of what's driving those decisions or those choices. And sometimes, oftentimes people are voicing, I can't make a move or I can't make a change because, I've been in this field for 10 years or 20 years and, I lose all this time. Or, I hear with lawyers, right? So much school, so much time, so much money, but I'm miserable, but I can't make a change because I've already invested time, money, whatever in this path. And to just name that that's a flawed decision-making framework, and that to hear the definition laid out that the abandonment of that path is actually going to reap more rewards in the long run than staying where you are, even if your mind is making you think that you should stay.
Yeah, and I think the clarity of the definition is incredible, because I think that people will put up with so much in a toxic work environment or in a job that doesn't feel like a good alignment. And during COVID, we actually saw a lot of this, right? So there's all this discussion about burnout. And I think it's easy to distract ourselves if we end up on a career path that doesn't align and we wish that we were somewhere else, but we feel crippled to make that change. Then we throw more time in our hobbies, our relationships, our families, and so on. And when COVID stripped that all away from us and we were left with the jobs, and a lot of people were all of a sudden aware that they were staying in their career path or on their career path for the wrong reason.
Yeah. And I think just, this idea that, oh, I've already spent 10 years, so I can't leave now. Guess what? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you think you're going to feel better? Do you think you're going to feel, like that was a good decision? Or is that unhappiness going to compound? Right? And is it going to make it even harder to make a change 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Yeah, and that unhappiness, it finds a way to show up in your body and your life too. That's the thing I really want to kind of chat about today is we know that being in a work environment that doesn't fulfill you or align with who you are for a long time creates stress, insomnia, a lack of connection to self or ability to focus. I mean, this is your body shouting that this is not where you want to spend the majority of your time. And I wanted to share a story about a client I worked with in the middle of the pandemic. So one of those folks that she worked in the entertainment industry for 10 plus years. And she also had studied film and had a master's in it. So she'd invested a lot of time and she was also successful. So she was moving on up and she was making good money. So there were a lot of reasons to stay. And guess what? She was miserable and it was showing up in her ability to focus, her energy outside of work. She was feeling stressed and unhappy. And so when we dug in and realized that the reasons she had been staying were putting forth the ability to stay in a place that was not going to serve her presently and not going to serve her in the future.
Yeah.
She felt motivated to make the change. And so then we dug into, well, what is it that would make you feel engaged? And what is it that you're missing from where you are? And that actually opened up more clarity for her. And she made a total pivot out of entertainment into project managing and construction, which sounds random, but actually really made a lot of sense when we looked at all the pieces that can go into making that kind of big pivot.
Yeah. Story too. I was working with a young college who had gotten a degree and in engineering. He liked it. He thought it was okay. But when he got out of school and was in a position to start applying for jobs, he so much resistance applying. And as we dug in and started to have more and more conversations, it turned out that he was really dreading the idea of working in engineering, right? And, but he was really struggling with this idea of like, I just spent 4 years, all the coursework, all the internship, everything parents helped me pay for. The idea of like, I can't abandon all of that to do something new was really holding him kind of hostage. And, so we started to have some conversations, try to like break apart how he was making decisions about his future. And did it actually make good sense to make decisions from a place of, I should be going in this direction because I've invested this time, versus I want to, and I'm motivated and I'm driven to go in this other direction because it feels exciting. It feels aligned with my strengths. It feels like something I can feel, really challenged by. We're still in the process walking through that, but it really struck me as like, wow, how many of us are making decisions about our life and the choices that, the directions we're going in from a place of like, I should be doing this because I've invested all this time, money, whatever, versus I want to do this. I'm motivated to do this. I'm inspired to go in this direction.
Yeah. I often will tell clients there's no shoulds allowed in these conversations.
Stop shitting all over yourself.
It's just something that we do so often. And when you think about it in terms of career, it's always, what should you be doing? That's what we teach kids when they're little. Yeah. What should you do to have a happy life? Get a good job. So we have a lot to break through there, to crack open, as you said. And how can you do this for yourself? How can you investigate what is going on with your kind of desire to maybe make a career change?
Yeah, just, like Micah said, just take a pause to ask yourself, like, am I making this from a place of want or should? And am I getting trapped in this sunk cost fallacy?
Mhm.
Now I have some language for describing that framework and that decision making, and also to be able to kind of say back to yourself, oh, that's actually a fallacy. That's not a good way to be making decisions and choices. So hey, comment below if you guys can relate or are feeling challenged by this or have any stories about this. We'd love to hear. And yeah, we hope you have a good rest of your week and a good weekend, and we'll pop in here again soon.
Yep. Thanks
All
so
right.
much. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.
I think we're still learning how to do this.
Yeah.
All right. So.